Hi, it's Krystle Coleman. Just want to make sure you check out my exclusive interview giving you great PR and business tips on highly unique South Florida. I'm originally from Detroit. I went to college for public relations. I have a degree in mass communications with a concentration in PR and journalism, so 2 dual degrees. And that's how I arrived here in South Florida. So what I do now is public relations, content creating, event execution, and media training. So still falls under the umbrella of public relations, but I am a publicist every day, all day.
Before your career, who was Krystle Coleman and what gave her motivation?
The same person I am now. What gave me motivation then was just read, like I told you, just reading about different writers in the masthead, being inspired and idolizing their lifestyle and how they have freedom and obviously freedom of speech, and they could dress how they want. That's what just motivated me early on, was just film, music, artwork, just different things like that. I'm from Detroit, from the Midwest, so just studying different things. I'm from Motown. Again, I've always been a person, and I say this in the most humble way, that has always respected the foundation behind the surface. So me being from Detroit, Motown, I always was like, I love the Supremes, I love Marvin Gaye, but who is organizing them behind the scenes? So that's always been my thing. So from an early age, I just literally kind of just did my homework and found that out. And that's a big part of who I am. What's motivated me is just looking at people that I idolize, whether it's from the way they dress or the way they carry themselves, from their mannerisms. I take things as small as that, whether it's someone who works at the grocery store or an usher at church. So I guess when it comes to what motivates me, just human nature, people being kind, humility, going outside, and things like that.
Awesome. What was your inspiration behind creating Midori Star Media Group?
I just had this conversation with a colleague recently. Midori Star Media, Midori means green in Japanese. That's my favorite color. I took Japanese as a side major, so to speak, in middle school and high school. Japanese was my minor. A lot of my friends even went to college with the minor as Japanese and did profound studies and what is it called, exchange student in Japan. But that was just something that stuck with me. I like the fashion of Japanese people. I like their food. So I was kind of engulfed in their culture for a minute. So instead of calling my company Green Star Media, I called it Midori Star Media. But that's technically what it means, is green in Japanese. That was the kind of influence behind that. So with Atlanta and Find It, that was my first corporate job. I worked there. I did press releases all day, optimization, but it was getting to the point where I couldn't enjoy my Friday because I knew Monday was coming. So that's how Midori Star Media was birthed. I was there for 2 years. It was a lot of PR companies in Atlanta. That was competition. I was fresh out of college, so I couldn't really freelance my way around. So I landed at Find It, doing corporate PR, corporate press releases, developing them, distributing them. And then I just quit after 2 years, and that's when I stepped out on faith. Like I said, I had I like to think, a profound background in Japanese culture. That's how Midori came along. And I launched my own boutique agency. I still operate as a boutique agency, which is a smaller company where you have divisions and everybody's a priority. So to answer your question, that's kind of how it was birthed, was just trial and error. Like I said, I grew up under entrepreneurs, but I didn't think that was for me or was in my future. And it just kind of came abrupt from the routine and the repetitiveness of work.
Nice. So client-wise, who did you work with you realized, like, wow, I got my big break?
To me, that experience happened from internships. I tell even my interns and my staff now that I am a long stem of interns.
So what client, there was no particular client that you probably was most like memorable, or?
Like I said, from earlier on with internships, I interned at Def Jam. A really big client there was, when I was there, L.A. Reid was the president. Jay-Z was really big, Rihanna was big, but one of my really big clients, I would say for me, would be like Rick Ross or Trina or Plies. When I was in college, my first internship I landed here was the Pub Report, which was like a subsidiary of Vibe magazine. Then I interviewed T.I. when he first came out with Urban Legend. I don't know if you guys remember like Brooke Valentine, Pitbull. I interviewed all of them. So those are all great experience for Q&A like you're doing right now for traditional interviews. But this is when I wanted to be a journalist. And before I switched it over to PR, I went to one of my mentors as a journalist, and I was like, I love conducting these interviews, but I want to like be cool. Like I want to be connected with these people after the interview. And that's kind of when all that happened. And he was like, that's a publicist. And so he got me an internship with Def Jam. I applied. Def Jam back then used to pick 6 interns a summer. I put together a PowerPoint presentation. I sent it to them. I went to them. And when I went there, L.A. Reid, like I said, was the president or the main person, and Jay-Z had just became a big head there as well. And so that's when I kind of started being tangible to like the Jeezy project. Kanye West had just came out with Diamonds Are Forever. It was a really great summer for me. So when you ask that question, it's kind of a bubble effect because I hit the ground running in terms of internships, and I just, God be the glory, just been fortunate with, like I said, just always being like looking from those magazines on the tear sheet, Samantha, and lining it up and saying, hey Samantha, I'm this, I know how to write, I'll write for free, I know who Janet Jackson is, just things like that. It develops into that. So when it comes to a big break, I don't have a whole answer, you know what I'm saying, so to speak, but from the Def Jam to the Slip and Slide, from the Def Jam to the Slip and Slide, from the Rick Ross project, Tierra Marie, who some people may not remember, but just different things like that, you know what I'm saying? So I've been fortunate to work with a lot of big names, but like I said, I got a really early leg in on the work.
Definitely, nice. So how did you make that the entertainment industry to sports?
Good question. And to be super transparent with you, when I was at Slip and Slide after I graduated, that was the home of the hits is here in South Florida, Slip and Slide. So when I graduated from there with my internship, I had kind of nurtured and built a relationship with some of the artists there, one of them being Trina. And Trina then and still is a really close friend of Lala. And this is when Sidekicks was out. And I had my sidekick, and I had graduated from college. Like I said, I was coming from Atlanta. I was trying to make my way back here. I didn't want to go back to Detroit for no particular reason. I just felt like Miami, whatever. And so I was telling her, like, I love working with you guys, but I kind of feel like I'm babysitting you guys, or I kind of feel like I didn't go to college for this and stay in that smelly dorm room and all this. I feel like I'm an assistant, and no disrespect, but you know what I'm saying? And so just conversing with different people about that. And one of my clients at the time were decent enough and humble enough and saw enough in me to say, I'm going to introduce you to Lala. Oh. And so Lala, I got her email address on Sidekick. It was her son's name, Cayenne. And I met her in person. I was like 22. And I was like, I just graduated. Like, I could write my nuts off type of thing. And she was married to Carmelo Anthony. Right. So that's when she was like, I think she was like, my brother raps. And she was like, he signed to my man label. And I was like, who's your man? And she was like, Carmelo Anthony. And he had a label called Crossover Entertainment. And that's how I kind of went from entertainment and music PR to sports PR.
Nice.
Yeah.
What?
From her and her brother.
Yeah.
But technically, again, I met her from Trina, and it literally just kind of plugged in like a socket from there, and just generalized itself. But that's honestly how I got my first athlete client, and I can't not give respect or notoriety to Bryant McKinney, who is a Super Bowl winner. He played for the Minnesota Vikings, the Miami Dolphins, and also the Baltimore Ravens. And he's from Jersey, but he went to college here as well. He went to UM. And when I was graduating, just from being in the city, nurturing the proper relationships and different networks and things like that, because like I said, and I can't stress this enough, I just was already had an idea of where I wanted to go from reading material, and it starts from there. And books are available to everybody, or magazines are available to everybody. I'm not saying that's their way, but that just is what tapped in for me, was magazine, that person looks nice and they got lipstick on. And so it started from me from there. But Bryant McKinney was someone who went to college here in South Florida, and I connected with him, and he played professional football. So that was one of my first NFL clients as well.
Nice. Amazing. Amazing. So what is your next business venture, if there's any?
I don't know what my next business venture is. I definitely, both my grandmothers are deceased. I pay big respect and homage to them, just in terms of mercy, favor, and grace. One of my grandmother's names is Grace. If I do anything with that, I would love to be a service. I know a lot of that comes with the mission of what I'm doing, the mission of what everybody's just doing, whether it's a nurse or a mechanic, is being of service to somebody, make somebody drive off like, oh, my tires feel so much better, whatever. So for me with that, to be of service, so it would be something in mentorship or something along those lines, and I bring my grandparents in the mix because I want to have their name in it some way. So like my grandmother's name is Grace or Pauline, so the Grace way or something like that.
Right.
Like I said, my whole career has been in public relations or journalism. So now in 2020, a big thing is content, and not only saying I'm a publicist, but showing I'm a publicist. I brush my teeth like a publicist. I'm really with Serena Williams. I'm really with this person, which is content creating. So I definitely see a future in that, or creative direction, or things where I'm just naturally doing something, and by sharing that through the tool of social media, if that works, whatever kind of organically happens that way. But at the end of the day, I'm rooted in writing, journalism, and media relations.